The baptism of a newborn is a solemn moment, doubly so. A new life joins our flock, bringing happiness to its parents and to the congregation. Natus ex sanguine est, alitur sanguine, et in sanguine morietur. Ego te baptizo in nomine Dei. Amen. Don't I know you from somewhere, young man? Laslia, maybe?
I'm sorry, but you must be mistaken.
Am I? Perhaps. Perhaps. My memory isn't what it used to be. Come with me. I'll take your confession.
Thank you, but I have no need for confession.
Ah. So you deem your conscience clear?
I wouldn't go that far. But I'm sure you're a busy man, Father. So while I appreciate the offer, I feel that my soul shouldn't be your priority.
I won't press the matter. You are quite correct. I have many other duties to attend to. But please remember that in order to be saved, we all need to repent. Myself included. I hope we can speak again soon. Good day to you, Coen.
It's a really cool story involving legendary swords and a haunted almshouse, but today we'll focus on showcasing our gameplay systems. We're starting on the outskirts of Svatro, the game's largest city and the capital of Vale Sangora. From here, we could head anywhere the eye can see, explore ancient ruins or sabotage vampire blood transports. But it's not just about where or when you go. It's also about how you approach the main quest and shape the story, making each playthrough uniquely your own. For now, we're following the road. Coen is on his way to the city's cathedral, chasing leads about a powerful weapon said to be hidden in its crypts. But first, we'll have to deal with some bandits who camped out by the main road. Traveling through Vale Sangora is never boring. The world is dense with quests, random encounters, and locations steep in lore. This will be a great opportunity to show you our combat system. Our goal was to make the player feel like a real swordmaster who closely observes his enemies. We'll begin this fight by using acrid dust to stun one of the enemies. Now, when you attack, you choose one of four directions: up, down, left or right, in order to hit the opponent where he is unable to parry. And similarly, when defending, you have to take note of the enemy's intent and the direction of the attack. On the left side of the screen, just above Coen's health, you have activation charges that will be filled in with each successful attack, block and parry. Once they are full, you can use one of the active abilities which allow you to take a more tactical approach to fighting. We started the fight by throwing some acrid dust, and now let's cast Burning Blood. It's a hex which boils the enemy's blood and burns their skin, dealing physical damage over time. Alright, time to finish this fight. Let's use the final activation charge to cast the artery attack, which actually decapitated the last opponent. Our hero quickly dispatched the bandits, so let's loot a few items they've left behind and open the inventory. First of all, let's replenish our health by eating something, and then take a closer look at this cool-looking weapon we just picked up. Ah, it has better stats than our current weapon, so let's equip it right now. We've also leveled up, so let's use this opportunity to spend the newly acquired skill point in one of Coen's skill trees. The skills in the Blood of Dawnwalker are divided into 3 trees, one for human, one for vampire, and one shared between the two. We also have an active abilities panel. We can use it to unlock additional abilities to use during combat. Note that during the day, the health bar is not regenerating. You need to find consumables like the one we've just eaten. The hexes we've just used also consume some of Coen's health. Be aware of that. The way our magic system works, there's always a price to pay for manipulating reality. But we can make it sting a bit less. Let's level up the Frugal Witchcraft skill, so next time we'll cast a hex, it'll consume fewer of Coen's health points. Now that we've wrapped up the encounter with the bandits, we can be on our way to get inside the city. Right now, Coen hasn't done enough to ruffle the Vampire Lord's feathers, so the gods will just wave us through. But the more damage you cause, the more suspicious and aggressive they'll become. So when you play the game yourself, you'll have to decide whether you want to challenge the vampires openly, or lay low until you're ready to strike and surprise them.
It's even bigger than I remembered. And it's grander than before. They're putting in new stained glass. The Knyaz doesn't deny the old faith.
Out of my face.
This is the rich district of the city, Silberkreis. There's also Altermarkt, Neustadt, and the Middens. Each of the boroughs has its own feel and character.
Get your stinking ass out of here.
I was just passing through, I swear. I got tired and sat down and started begging.
Looming high over the city is Brancis's castle, Greifberg. He took it over when he slaughtered the human ruler of the valley, Skender, as shown in the trailer we shared with you earlier in January this year. In order to complete the main quest and save your family, you'll have to storm the castle, alone or with help of friendly NPCs. We could do it right now if we wanted, but it would be super challenging.
No more drink for you, my friend. Go home.
Oh, let me. I just want to. Oh, let me in.
You made a mess, and it's not that kind of inn.
Let's check the map. The cathedral is really close. There's plenty of other places to see and things to do here. A couple of inns, a medic, a blacksmith, an armorer, and other merchants. You can see that not only the vampires came out of the shadows. This creature on the right is called an Uriash. Look around, especially at night, and you'll learn humans have lots to fear, not just the vampires. And here we can see guards pounding on some poor guy's doors.
What is it about? Disrespecting singing songs that mocked him and the faith.
Who told you this nonsense?
Was it Livia? Open the door.
It's just one of many different community scenes we're implementing in the game. Watch them closely when you play, as they might point you to new quests and hidden treasures, or signal changes in the game's world.
Once again, I humbly beg of thee.
I humbly...
Ouch!
I don't want to say it, Mum.
It's a prayer. It's what we have to say. Go on.
I humbly beg of thee, protect him and protect.
Thou art sent forth.
Okay, we are at the cathedral gates. Again, since Coen isn't yet wanted by the vampire regime,
The entrance to the crypt could be anywhere. Won't get anything done just standing around. Still.
this was a scene investigation, a mechanic we used to zoom in on and showcase key clues. This time we had a chance to learn more about the vampire's plans. Looks like they're keen to cover up the old frescoes, so that's something we could take a look at. This way we could learn more about the cathedral's past.
Blood to blood. You shall
Looks like we aren't alone here. Underneath us there's a group of blood guards, soldiers hooked up on vampire blood, which makes them stronger. And one of Brances's vampire allies. It's Xanthe, the oldest vampire in Vale Sangora, and quite a powerful lady. Let's descend and check what's going on.
Don't think I don't see you skulking in the shadows. Come out! You're interfering with my task. Who are you?
It doesn't matter.
Very well. I don't have time for interruptions. Let us dispose of him. Quickly! You've withstood it. Fascinating.
Coen is using his claws to attack when in vampire form. Blood guards are dual-wielding opponents. Their attacks are pretty strong. Of course, even when fighting with claws, combat is still directional. Don't worry, Coen can still use his sword as a vampire.
You haven't lived long.
Only after defeating all three of the blood guards, Xanthe deems Coen worthy of a challenge, and she descends to face him. She uses her blood control powers to cast a multitude of attacks, like her blood whips that hit Coen from left and right. Xanthe is protected by a powerful vampire ability. Once her stamina runs out, Coen will have an opportunity to strike and deal some damage. But be careful, cause Xanthe is quick to counterattack and she will also try to restore her blood. Meanwhile, look at the indicator just below her health and stamina. It's a timer for the boiling blood skill that you've seen in the CGI trailer. So, if we don't hurry, the timer goes down to 0 and Coen will eventually explode. And we're dead. Remember, we were only mid-game here, and Xanthe is one of the game's most punishing enemies. Defeating her right here and right now is very much possible, but it would be hellishly difficult.
Monsters have always been here, watching from the shadows. And when we were at our weakest, they came out into the light. We feared for our lives, but we should have feared for our souls instead. The vampires didn't come to kill us. No, they came to rule. To turn us into mindless, docile cattle. Not me, though. They tried to change me into one of them. But I became something else instead. Their worst nightmare. A Dawnwalker. Trapped between the two worlds. Fighting to even the score. Fighting to understand the evil behind it all.
He is out there, watching, seeping into you, growing.
must be here somewhere.
It's all right.
Lunka! Don't hurt her!
You gave us quite the chase, young.
Please, sir. She's just a child!
Roderick, remind me, did I make an exception for children?
No, sire.
No. That would have been foolish, would it not? They spread the plague just as well as adults. And there's only one way to stamp out this sickness.
No!
Not just a runner, but a fighter, too. Had we met under a different moon, things might have ended there.
Lunka! My sister. She needs help. Fast. Please, let us pass through. I beg of you. Please. Please. I don't know. How?
I am life. I am death. I am everything in between. I have been watching your little valley. Pestilence, famine, killing. Blood spilt carelessly, like water. Things will be different now. For all of you.
Man, look at this place. That would be perfect for the writing team.
Not just for them. I love storytelling myself. Since I can remember, telling stories through images is what I love to do.
Yeah.
So when I received the first script for the Dawnwalker, I fell in love with it right away.
I think for me, what got me was the concept art when I first saw those Carpathian villages hugging the mountain slopes, the valleys, forests, and then also the muddy streets of Svartrau and the long shadow of the cathedral. It all felt very authentic, muddy, and also very familiar, homely, and, well, Eastern European.
Not just Eastern Europe.
No, yeah.
It's a mix of predominantly Romanian motifs with broader influences of Balkan cultures. Mm-hmm. It gave us a freedom of creation. It's a vast range of inspiration from Polish log houses to Ukrainian or Balkan clothing to Romanian defensive churches.
That variety and that broad spectrum was also interesting to get because I never thought as an environment artist I would have to learn in Romanian how to Google specific museums just to get the references.
On the other hand, we also set a boundary for ourselves, and that boundary is a time period of inspiration ranging from the 13th to 15th century. Mm-hmm. And this is meant to ensure the visual consistency of the work.
Yeah, and that is also quite a challenge to make sure that what you create is authentic, grounded, and has a real sense of place, but at the same time isn't just a picture and invites exploration and promotes that gameplay.
I wanted to see how far we could push realism so that players truly feel part of the narrative. But this is not a simulation of medieval life.
Not at all.
Realism can be boring, and we wanted to create something exciting. And that's where the magic comes in.
Yes, the magic.
Our magic isn't filled with fireballs or flashy lights.
Yeah, it's probably even more interesting to get right than the realism part of it, because when a quest brief comes through and the magic is manifested by, I don't know, birds flying in the sky in a strange formation or the northern lights not being in the north, it really makes you rethink the whole location and how it should come together to marry those two aspects.
Our magic is also serious, and it's closer to paranormal phenomena than to traditional spellcasting. It's like the X-Files set in the Middle Ages, all deeply rooted in the history of the Dawnwalker world.
Yeah, and I think it's the weather and the lighting system that do majority of the heavy lifting to take a location and really push it one notch above realism to give it a slightly off feeling. I think my favorite location for that is the cathedral. During the daytime, it's that monument to Gothic architecture with people bustling around. And then as soon as the sun starts setting in and the streets clear, the fog starts setting in, and it becomes a completely transformed, different area, very spooky, almost liminal, cemetery-like space.
And that was also a very early and conscious choice on our part. We wanted the world to be a different place after the sun sets.
So the game takes place 2 years after the events shown in the intro, and this is just the beginning of a greater saga we were planning. So we get to meet the character at the beginning of his adventure, which I think is really cool. And Coen in general is so much fun to write and flesh out because he's not your typical game protagonist. He's not a grizzled veteran who's seen it all, who is cynical about the world, who comments the world with like one-liners. He's a young guy who, at heart, is emotional. He can get vulnerable. He's honest about how he feels.
What I love in Coen is that he'll be never a superhero. He'll be never overpowered. At the day, as a human, he can fight with a sword, he can use and discover dark magic, but he can be killed by anyone. At the night, he encounters a lot more difficult enemies. He can use some vampiric abilities, not only in combat, but also he can use it to explore the world and to see the world in a totally different way.
Yeah, and he'll need all these cool superpowers because he's facing formidable enemies. This clique of vampires who decided to take over the world, turn it upside down, and set the rules. And they are led by this super old and immensely powerful vampire called Brensis. Our game is set in 14th century Europe, and it's a world in deep crisis. First, the continent has been ravaged by the plague, then wars, and now famine. And all the while, vampires have been watching from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And finally, when humanity is at its lowest, they come out of the shadows, they overthrow the feudal lords, and they move into their castles.
Vampires ruling the world is not necessarily the bad thing. Feudal lords in that time killed the whole villages to prevent, the plague. And the vampires, they defend Coen and his sister. They even healed Lunka. And, I know that people need to pay taxes in blood, but it's not a huge cost of safe and good life.
Well, to that I'd say that vampires' favors are uncertain. And sure, they protect the people of the valley where the game takes place, but they see them as cattle. So they protect them to then lead them and ultimately kill them. And the blood tax you mentioned, it's taken from everyone, the frail, the weak, the old. Each week they have to convene at the church for a blood mass. So for some people, that's deeply traumatizing or might even end up in them dying. So in the end, I'd say the balance is more or less equal. And that's something that I actually really like about our setting, this world, that nothing is simple, nothing is just black or just white. And you have to decide for yourself, like, what do I think is the right choice? What is the path I want to take? And what is the path I want to avoid? And ultimately, Coen's family ends up in the dungeons of the Vampire Lord. And even as Coen is trying to free them, he will meet people who still support the regime.
It's even more challenging for players because Coen has only 30 days and 30 nights to save his family. In most games, sandbox means gameplay freedom. In our, it means narrative freedom. we don't think about the quest, like the main quest or the side quest. We just have quests. Players will craft their experience through the game by themselves, and nobody will have the same, you know. And we call it native sandbox.
Yeah, that's something that really excites me, because that means that no two playthroughs will be identical. That each player will have a unique experience. And that's the true magic of video games, and that's why I love making them.
So why did you start a company? I decided to open the Revolve company because I felt that there is a huge space for innovation and for evolution in the open world RPGs. And to achieve that, you need to have independence and artistic freedom. And sometimes you need to make hard and risky decisions. And the best way to do that is to open your own company and make your own choices. Do you remember the second Fallout from '98?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite games ever, and I was so excited when you used that as a point of reference, because for some time now I've been aching to return to the promise and the value of old school computer RPGs, and to combine it with modern graphics, with bleeding edge tech, with a dynamic, fast-paced combat, merge these two together and see what comes out.
Exactly. And of course, we will not do the post-apocalyptic game. But what was really interesting in the second Fallout is the freedom. You could do there whatever you want. You exit the vault, you have the clear goal in front of you. Yeah. You don't have main quest which telling you, okay, right now do that, next do that. You just, like, you know, shape your own main story, and you build your own experience. And this is like the total freedom in the games.
Yeah, and as a writer, this is something that excites me about the games the most. The choices, the freedom, non-linearities, and I think this is something that's truly unique to video games. Like, you can't emulate that in any other medium. So I'm so glad that we are making a game that sets out to explore that space and see what new is to be done there. So that's great.
Also, if you will add to that the sense of urgency, the time, which actually is not really explored in the video games, and day and night loop, it would be really interesting because it will make the game different.
Yeah, no, I get that, because the sense of urgency is so important in the context of open world RPGs, where players can become distracted and kind of get away from the main story. So finding a way to make sure that they remain invested, that they remain at the edge of their seats is so important, and I think it's something that's lacking from the games in that niche.
And if you will add to that the hero, who have the different loop at the day and different loop at the night, it makes the game really unique.
For example, Brancis, he had to normalize this thing for the humanity, convince everyone this is the new normal.
Yeah.
And the way he did this was, first of all, you know, there was a lot of social turmoil, and on the other hand, a lot of deeply held religious beliefs. And he twisted them. He turned himself into this messianic figure. So, for example, he introduced these blood masses where he feeds a human vampire blood, right? And at the same time, they have these other things like punishing criminals with, like, draining them dry.
Yeah, but, well, you know, some people actually liked it because once Brancis came in, he set up a new order of things. He finally got down to business, and then he locked the valley off so that nobody can touch it. No outside influence can touch it. And, well, some others did not like it so much, and they began to reach into the depths of forgotten magic, occult, stuff like that.
Yeah, so either way you look at it, the Veil Sangora will never be the same again.
Not a chance. Well, that is a lot of world building, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There are so many things we need to remember to make this into a cohesive whole. And at the same time, you have the challenges posed by the open world itself. Because, you know, there's a risk of the content being formulaic or repetitive. We handcraft all of it, and we focus on telling these unique themes we really care about.
Oh yeah, we want to talk about loss, about the meaning of family, about opposing tyranny, about trying to coexist with creatures you've never had to coexist with before.
Well, but that would be difficult to do with just Coen and Brensis, right?
Impossible, actually. We had to create a whole host of characters, and we really wanted to avoid having cardboard cutouts, like without motivations, without backgrounds, goals, and ambitions. But, you know, when you meet those characters, your goals and ambitions may overlap, and you befriend them, or it might be the opposite, and you go on a warpath with them. But, you know, given the goal that you have ahead of you, it might be good to have some friends to go along with.
Well, but you could go on your own, right? If you wanted.
Well, yeah, you could just grab a sword and go storm the castle.
Yeah.
But, you know, it might be wise to, for instance, find the rebel cell and try to dismantle Brensis' rule with them. Or, I don't know, listen to what an agent from outside of Vale Sangora has to say.
Right, so, hold on. Environment art is something I understand, right? I do it every day, I understand the creative process behind it, but I've never touched anything to do with character art, which is your speciality. So, would you mind walking me through what was your creative process in coming up with that whole thing?
Sure. So we approach the work on vampires very seriously. It's a whole new universe. What's even better is that it's a mix of familiar elements with a fresh twist. We all know that vampires are well-defined in pop culture and have been around for a long time, so we wanted to create something fresh. So what primarily sets them apart is their teeth. Our vampire teeth keep growing throughout their lives. The older the vampire, the more teeth they have. So instead of two sharp teeth, they have a series of needle-like fangs, densely growing from their jaws, often emerging from different parts of their skull as they age. The teeth keep growing because the vampire can use them to create another vampire. And the mechanism is very simple. The vampire pulls out his fang and drives it into the heart of its victim.
Lovely.
So what's interesting is that our vampire's teeth aren't visible at first. They can extend as the mouth opens, and it looks really creepy.
Yeah, I still remember the first time that the animations came through from the character art team, showing the mouth opening and the teeth growing, and it was absolutely disgusting. I loved every bit of it.
So Coen's Argyria, the silver poisoning he got when he was working in the mines, is both a blessing and a curse. Because on one hand, it weakens him. On the other hand, it protects him from becoming a vampire fully. So, you know, he gets to traverse both worlds, both the world of humanity and the world of the creatures of the night.
Yeah, while he was kind of used to dealing with the vampires, since it's been like a couple of years since Brensis took over, now he has to find a way to deal with things like undead lurking in ancient tombs that should have remained closed. Kobolds that used to only prey on miners going way too deep into the mines, or even Uriashes, who used to live high up in the mountains, secluded, and now they are in Brensis' troops.
Yeah, and they are vastly different.
Oh yeah, they all have their own separate cultures, and, well, if you want to deal with them, I would kinda like to you should get to know them a bit, or else you might get tricked, because they all have their own goals, aspirations, now that they came out of the shadows in Brensis' wake.
It's a source of a lot of tension, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of tension. Some of them can cooperate with humans, but mostly it's just new issues, new problems nobody had to deal with before.
But I think this is great because all of that tension, all of these problems are great storytelling material for us, for building all of that content. Which is exactly why I love how we structured the game, because we offer a lot of choice in which characters do you want to interact with, which you might want to skip altogether. And also on top of that, you have this layer of non-linearities where you can decide their fates, but also the fate of Coen and his family.
Yeah, and I really like that because it gives us so much replayability. You can always choose a different path. There's something else waiting there for you.
Yeah, exactly. And also, on top of that, you get to find all these secrets of Vale Sangora and fill all the blanks and, explore the world.
And yet another path might be lurking within that.
Handcrafted content is all good and well, But on top of that, we also have a number of really cool gameplay systems that further feed into the narrative.
Yeah, and speaking of feeding, my favorite one is the blood hunger. It lets me play a real vampire. I don't just have to drink blood to use my cool abilities in combat, but if I talk to someone without feeding first, I might just lose control and I might eat them. And it's not going to be just any random peasant that I won't care about. I can eat my best friend, and I will break my heart, and I will break my quests.
Yeah, so you better keep him well fed.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a fave?
Yeah, I really enjoy the ones that are revolving around Brensis, because it makes him this active antagonist. You know, this means that he will basically react to what Coen is doing. He will pass these edicts that will hinder your path. So, for example, he might set up military checkpoints that will be on your way.
That changes the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, you know, it's not just him running the show. It's also his 3 powerful vampire allies.
Yeah, when I saw them in CGI, that was such a hype moment. Finally animated, voiced, and just loved it.
Yeah, and on top of being cool characters, they also have their own spheres of influence, and you get to dismantle their organization step by step, making it simpler for you to confront Brensis and free your family.
Well, when it comes to freeing your family, there is one more antagonist, that is time itself, because every time you do something important in the game, when you complete an objective or you complete a quest, time moves forward.
Yeah, but what I really like about this also is it's not like real time. You actually get to control how much of this resource you want to spend, right?
Yeah, you have to manage it wisely, but if you just want to enjoy the view or just take a stroll, you can without stress. But once you get down to business, you have to do it smart.
Yeah, so I think all of these things combined, handmade quests and the gameplay systems, create for this really fun, unique experience.
Yeah, and you know what? I cannot wait to see what shenanigans players will get up to playing with those systems. I will be there watching it.
Same.
As you can imagine, last 2 years were really intense for us. I want to thank the whole Rebels pack. You are the best, and it's a privilege to work with you. The Blood of Dawnwalker is a very special game for us, because it's first truly ours. What you have seen so far is only the beginning. In upcoming months, we will share more with you. But for now, I have one more surprise for you.
The Blood of Dawnwalker is an upcoming single-player, open-world dark fantasy action RPG developed by Rebel Wolves and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment, targeting a 2025 release for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XS. Helmed by Konrad Tomaskovich, former game director of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, this marks the debut title from Rebel Wolves, an independent studio composed of veteran developers from CD Projekt Red, Techland, and other major European studios. With a focus on narrative complexity, meaningful choice, and rich world building, The Blood of Dawnwalker aims to be a bold, genre-defining experience rooted in the Gothic traditions of Eastern European fantasy. Set in the cursed kingdom of Vale Sangora, a fictional 14th century realm inspired by Carpathian folklore and medieval superstition, the game invites players into a world unraveling under the weight of plague, political upheaval, and a rising vampiric insurgency. Once ruled by feudal lords, the kingdom has become a fractured battleground between dying noble houses, cultish blood courts, and a newly awakened supernatural threat. As Coen, a former scholar turned warrior, players awaken in the ruins of his village, reborn against his will as a Dawnwalker, an immortal straddling the line between humanity and vampire. The story explores themes of identity, power, memory, and moral compromise as Coen wrestles with the costs of his transformation. His blood grants him supernatural abilities, such as shadow teleportation, echolocation, bestial transformations, and blood magic. But every use brings him closer to forsaking his human soul. The choices players make affect not only his abilities, but also how NPCs and factions react to him, unlocking alternate quest lines, betrayals, and potential alliances. Gameplay blends brutal, methodical melee combat with RPG elements that emphasize adaptability and consequence. Combat encourages players to combine swordplay with vampiric powers and environmental manipulation, setting traps, using destructible terrain, and drawing foes into moonlit ambushes. A robust skill tree system branches into distinct disciplines, such as Hemocraft, Beast Form, and Phantom Stride, allowing for builds that reflect playstyle and moral alignment. Weapons and armor can be crafted or cursed, often requiring rare ingredients harvested from monster lairs or ancient crypts. The game's open world is fully explorable from the outset, ranging from overgrown forests haunted by forgotten gods to ancient universities frozen in time, mountaintop fortresses, and underground cities ruled by sentient undead. Dynamic weather and time-of-day cycles are more than aesthetic. They affect gameplay, from creature behavior to which quests or NPCs are accessible. Sanctuaries, scattered across the realm, serve as hubs where players can rest, forge items, or engage in branching narrative decisions with companions and rival factions.
Narrative plays a central role. Dialogue is choice-driven and reactive, with every major character shaped by Coen's attitude, actions, and evolving morality. Characters remember past decisions, and even minor encounters can snowball into major political outcomes. Relationships are nuanced, offering romance, betrayal, rivalries, and mentorship, depending on how players navigate trust and power. Technologically, the Blood of Dawnwalker leverages Unreal Engine 5, showcasing cutting-edge visual fidelity through nanite virtual geometry, lumen-powered dynamic lighting, and fully voiced facial animations captured via performance scanning. Environments feel dense and alive, featuring biome-specific AI, procedurally generated side events, and an economy influenced by player actions. Burning a village to stop a vampire cult may save lives, but cripple trade in that region permanently. The game has been praised for its cinematic presentation, custom orchestral soundtrack, and narrative ambition, a combination that evokes comparisons to Dragon Age Origins, Bloodborne, and The Witcher 3. Early internal demos have earned acclaim from press previews and Unreal showcases, and developer diaries on Rebel Wolves' official site reveal a passionate commitment to mature storytelling and mechanical depth. Rebel Wolves has described Dawnwalker as the first chapter in a planned narrative saga, with future expansions and sequels contingent on the player's ending choices. While specific pre-order or edition details have not been disclosed, fans can already wishlist the title on Steam and follow its progress via social media channels and developer interviews on platforms like WildGamerSK, IGN, Eurogamer, and GameSpot. With a darkly lyrical tone, sophisticated moral systems, and a focus on emotional character arcs within a blood-drenched fantasy epic, The Blood of Dawnwalker is shaping up to be one of the most anticipated new IPs in modern fantasy gaming. Now you can enjoy the screenshots without any interruption. Enjoy!